All right. We will call the meeting to order.
She sings in the choir.
And our first item on the agenda is public comment. Do we have any public comment? Hearing none, we will move to the second item, which is liaison comments. And our Board of Selectmen liaison, our first selectman, is here.
Thank you. Just want to remind you all that hopefully you know about it already. Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance has unanimously approved going to a special town meeting. And as of right now, the date is December 5th at 7:30 in the town gymnasium for the upgrades to the radio system, which is, I guess the chief will tell you more about it, but it's much needed. And we hope to get that approval on that night. And we've begun budget season. Operating budgets, capital budgets, I think, have been submitted, right? And operating budgets are due in January, right?
So the town meeting is the...
December 5th.
December 5th, that's a Tuesday. And...
I believe you will be on the agenda earlier across the street for your capital budget.
You're 6
Okay.
right now.
What?
You're
Do we
6
know
o'clock
what
right now.
time the town meeting is?
7:30.
Okay. And we should all make every effort to attend that. Do you remember what the quorum is? All right, it's a low quorum.
Yeah.
Okay. And we need a quorum in order to do business, I believe. No?
No.
No.
So if you don't have a quorum, it falls back to the board.
Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance will vote. That's why we have agenda, we're gonna have a separate agenda for the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance, so that if there isn't a quorum, then the Board of Selectmen will vote on it.
Okay.
And the Board of Finance will vote on it.
Okay. Where did the agendas go?
It went down around.
Can I have one back?
Yep.
Okay. Is that it for your liaison
I
report?
could give you about 10 other things that we're working on for the town, but applicable to fire, that's the big one.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Our Board of Finance liaison, Susan Jacobs, said her regrets because she is singing in the choir in the interfaith service this
I'll be going
evening.
to in about an hour.
So
Sorry.
I ran into her the other day and she alerted me to that fact. Excuse me, are there any other liaison comments?
Not tonight, thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. First will be the June 26 minutes. Does anybody have any comments or corrections? I do not.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Abstain. I
So-
wasn't here.
Myself, Mr. Sufreen, and Mr. Horton voted affirmatively, and Ms. Kravitz abstained, following the popular but not necessarily parliamentary procedure of abstaining from minutes of a meeting that she did not attend.
What's the option?
You can vote for it or vote against it. Many people abstain because they weren't there and they think they have to abstain,
Right.
but I don't think you have to. You certainly,
I'm standing by my abstention.
you certainly may. I don't question that because you voted or didn't. You didn't vote.
You
You didn't
guys
vote.
could,
An abstention is the absence of a vote.
The two of you could get into this. Both
So-
attorneys, and this could be several hours.
Actually, if I am going to get technical, you cannot vote to
That's
abstain
the firewall in the Barracuda. That should have been.
because an abstention is exactly that. You abstain from voting.
I don't even know how to
We
abstain
had-
then. You'll have to tell me.
You don't vote. All right, next minutes are the July 17th. If anyone has any comments or corrections, please state them or forever hold your peace.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I will second
Any further discussion?
I'll abstain. Just kidding.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Oh, that's unanimous. I recited the names before because, as you know, the Freedom of Information Act requires you to list, unless it's unanimous, you have to list how each person voted.
Yes, that is true.
I would like to defer action on the September minutes, if that's agreeable with all other parties. And we will take that up at the next meeting. Next item is review of current financial statements, which will be circulated. Follow that with discussion of the capital budget
Thank you.
for the coming fiscal year. When is our, do we know when the operating budget is due?
It's due the beginning of January.
It's just on easy anymore.
I have two. So, at the end of November, we are almost, what, we're almost 5/12ths of the way through the year.
Okay, so the line to really look at, everything else is okay right now. Line to look at is repair maintenance machine 53510. We knew we were gonna run over on that. They cut us last year. We're gonna end up running that budget over by the end of the year. By what, I don't know yet, but the trucks are just starting to go out. Rescue 1 had some, went out last week. It had some repairs. We needed brakes. Needed, hang on one second. The rear bearing, the carrier bearings, heat cracks in the brakes, so we needed to replace those.
And those,
So
that,
that's about $5,000.
and those are not reflected in this statement, are they?
No.
Not encumbered, not spent yet?
No.
Okay.
So we do have an open PO for a few $1,000s to first line, but it's not gonna be enough. Plus, when the other trucks go out, we'll surely have stuff. This is gonna be a big year because this is the year when the wheels come off and the brakes get checked and everything else, so anticipate being a heavy year, it usually is.
How often does that happen?
Usually every 2 years,
Well, it's
unless there's
our,
an issue and they come off earlier.
so as the fleet ages, the repair and maintenance
Right.
continues. So, Rescue 1 is how old is it
11
now?
years old.
Well, it seems,
Wow.
time flies, doesn't it?
Oh, I'm ready.
Right, yeah.
So, engine 2 is gonna be going out.
I've
Sure,
been on
that's
this
gonna-
board that long?
Well, I know,
I don't
right.
know,
Board of
yeah.
Selectmen. 1998.
All right.
So, engine 2 is gonna go off, it's 15 years old, so I'm sure that's gonna have some stuff that's aging on it, that it needs to be repaired. Engine 9, it's probably gonna be a generator, it's probably gonna be the generator again, that we keep putting a Band-Aid on, and other miscellaneous things on the truck. But at this point, unknown. All I can tell you is Rescue 1 right now is about 5,000 that we had to repair it.
Okay, so of the, you said there's an open purchase order for one for a smaller amount.
What we
Is
do
that
is
in
at the beginning of the
is
year,
that in
we-
the encumbered amount?
There's some of it in the encumbered, it's
Okay.
not gonna be enough to cover just Rescue 1, but there's, all the other ones are gonna go out. We'll go right through that money.
And so I think the message is though the $23,000 balance in that account, in that line item right now, is that we're gonna put a pretty good dent in it before the end of the year,
Right. For January 1.
which is gonna leave us with not a lot of money
But
left for.
if you
repairs.
remember correctly, we had 68,000 last year, we went over that. they cut us down to 57 this year, and the year before that, we were about 125,000. So,
You said what did they cut you? They cut you from where?
68 to 57.
From what we spent or from what we requested?
We requested 68. We cut it down because they had to find money somewhere, so we took that line and we cut it down to 57, but they weren't under the impression that if it went over, that's where it's gonna go over at, because that line consistently continues to go over.
But we know we're gonna spend money on maintenance repairs, we don't know exactly what it's gonna be.
Correct.
But,
Depends on the year.
yeah, okay, all right. Anything else we should, notice we've used up a lot of it, or encumbered a lot of the repair maintenance testing?
Yeah, well, we did fire hose testing, they're almost done. They gotta come back one more day for a couple hours to finish it up. For the majority of that, that's done. That's like $10,000 just in hose testing. So we're moving forward. I mean, we're right where we need to be right now.
We have a tire budget, we're gonna replace tires this year?
We have tires on order. The problem is tires are taking a long time to get in. Believe it or not. We always, over the last couple of years, we order them and it takes like 4 months.
Well, as long as they're fresh when they arrive.
Yep. The tires, just so everybody knows, the tires have to be replaced every 7 years. And it doesn't matter when you buy the tire or when the tire goes on the truck. It has to do with the date code on the tire. So if the tire was manufactured and was sitting in a warehouse for a year, that means you only get 6 years out of it. So you don't get 7 years, even though the tire is brand new. It's brand new per the date code, not when the tire was put on the truck.
They warranty for 7? Once you start using them, or are they warranted from the day they go in the warehouse?
I don't know, per DOT, for state DOT, Connecticut DOT, you have to replace them every 7 years.
Yeah, it's not a warranty
It doesn't
issue,
matter.
it's just a,
And what we do is we take our tires and we give them to Public Works and put them on the dump trucks, because they don't have a date on them.
I've told the story, and last time I replaced tires, I'm walking in the bay, I see a stack of tires, I thought they were the new ones. They were the old ones that came off the truck, but there's
They gotta go.
plenty of tread on them.
You gotta remember, the water and the weight sits on the truck 7 days a week, 365 days a year, where a dump truck works hard for 8 or 10 hours a day, but it sits idle, it sits empty. The trucks sit with water and equipment on them all the time, so that's what they say.
All right, any other questions on the financial statement? Capital non-recurring is on the back, anything we need to know about that? Chief?
Nope, nothing has changed.
All right, there's no questions on that. Let's take a look at the capital budget for the coming fiscal year. This was already submitted in draft form to the finance department. So our business this evening is to ratify, to approve that submission, and to make any changes that we see fit.
Okay, on the first page is the ladder truck, the power truck. It's hard to come up with how we're gonna fund the trucks, because to come up with a 6-year capital plan, it's never followed like a truck fund, so we did it how we did it last year. We put the power truck, we put all the money in for the upcoming year, but we wouldn't have to pay, the first payment wouldn't be due because it takes roughly 6 months to design it. It's a 2-year build time, and then once you take delivery on it, the first payment's usually due in the tail end of the following year. So we hold the truck for a year before the first payment's due.
It's if we finance it through a lease purchase with
Correct.
payments and arrears.
Yep. So the new truck we bought last year, or this year, was basically a Band-Aid for the town, and it's basically a 3 to 5 year truck. So meaning we should really put something on order probably in the next year, and then it's a 2-year build time from that. So right around that time, it'd probably be between the 4 to 5 years before taking delivery on it.
How's my math? The truck with our current one is 25 years old?
25 years old.
So,
Okay, next is engine 7. That's just a recurring payment, about 158, 176. Next page is the air packs. That's the payment that's due for this coming year. The breathing air compressor is new this year. We need to replace the breathing air compressor. This is the compressor that fills all the air bottles for the air packs. We're having big problems with the other breathing air compressor. It's older and keeps going. We keep having big issues with it, so we need to replace that. We don't know how much longer it's going to last. We're hoping to get through until next July so we can order a new one, but we're looking at about $105,000 for that.
what happens if it fails before we replace it?
Well, we either go back to the town for contingency, or what we do is we go up to Bethany and fill the bottles up at Bethany and transport them back, but then that ends up being a logistical nightmare since we're both volunteer departments. We'd have to find somebody up there with a key that we, in the middle of the night, if we have a fire. Or
Oh, because
we
you
have a car
refill
fire or whatever,
them immediately, yeah.
you have to
once
film
they're
it
used.
immediately to get the truck back in service. So it's not like we can just leave the bottle out of service until the
No,
next
I'm
day.
asking basically what the contingency plan is.
Yes, that's it.
For operationally until, if it fails, and until it can be replaced.
Right.
So do people lease these or they buy them, just buy them outright?
Usually you buy them outright because they're cheap enough where you're not gonna take a lease on a $100,000 piece of equipment.
Well, the air supply is, I'm stating the obvious, but that's
It's critical.
It's the critical piece of equipment. When we read about, serious injuries or worse in the newspaper and other departments, it's often the air supply that is the problem, so.
Engine 3 on the next page. If I'm going too fast, just let me know. Engine 3 on the next page, 31 years old. We have a spec. We're fine tuning the spec right now, and hopefully we'll be going out to bid, hopefully very soon, and then get the bids back and bring it to the town and have the first selectmen sign a contract for a new engine.
And again, the price, the estimated price in the budget request is to pay for it next fiscal year outright, but
Right,
we would
so,
also expect
yeah,
that
he's
to be
right, so
financed.
FY19 it shows 750,000, but in theory, the payment would get spread out probably over 3 years or 4 years. And then, if they build it this year, if we sign a contract, say, December 1 of this year, we wouldn't get delivery. It takes 12 months to build, 12 to 13 months, so we wouldn't see the truck until next December, January, and the first payment's not due until the following December or January. So, in theory, the payment's almost 2 years out
That's on a note,
on a lease purchase.
a lease purchase, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But we put it in here like this for the finance committee. The Board of
Well, the
Finance
problem
can
is if
see
we
what-
put it out in FY21 or FY22, what usually happens is the Board of Finance usually just doesn't look at it because they're looking at the current year,
Well, that's just
what's
a-
coming up. So
right.
when they look at it and they put all these capital requests together, and we're looking at, say, I don't know, $2 million for FY19, it's really not $2 million, but there's no way to really accurately say we need the truck this year when, if we're putting in, let's say, $100,000 or $50,000, it's not a big placeholder.
Well, I think this is the proper way for us to account for it at this stage, saying that this is.
So basically, the
this
truck
the-
is needed this year.
This is the amount,
right?
this is
But
the
it's up to
amount of
them
the
to figure out
expense,
what the
amount-
payments and when they would fall.
Right.
When you say the truck, what truck is
We're
needed
talking about,
this
Engine
year?
three.
we're talking about engine 3 now,
Oh,
which is
so-
31 years old, which is the way.
So that's priority number one.
Yes. And so, we're asking for a $750,000 purchase in this coming fiscal year.
But
The
you're not
finance, the
paying
fund, we
for
don't
it.
expect the town to be out of pocket that amount, but that's the amount of the purchase, so that's the amount that, the total contract. Typically, the town finances, as Sean was saying, with a lease purchase spread over time, and the first payment not due for another 2 years.
Okay, so what other things do you need in hand this year? The air compressor, obviously. Right?
The breathing air compressor, engine 9, once we finish the bid spec and get the bid spec back and get everything all set with engine 3, we're gonna start designing engine 9 because that's probably another 6 or 7 month design to replace that truck. And then by the time we send it out to bid, we're probably looking at sometime this time next year.
But you're not asking them to fund engine 9 this year, in this year's budget?
Well, we'd be looking to, we could be looking in FY19 to fund it for FY20, but remember, you could sign the contract in FY19, but your payment really wouldn't be until FY21.
So,
Right.
so the number, the estimated cost of engine 9 is in the 6-year projection, in the first year of the 6-year projection,
Right.
for the full amount.
But can you just...
Alternatively, that number could be, and in reality, once, if it is ordered within the next year, we would expect that number, that expense to be spread out on a lease purchase.
All right, so what do you want the town to agree to a contract for this year? All of this?
Well, you need the air packs, that's.
Right,
Well, the air
so I'm
packs-
just saying, let's figure out like what, what are you saying the town, we need to sign a contract for this year?
Well, remember, engine 3 is in this current year. It's an FY18.
So you're 24 months out on engine 3.
No, I'm
If you
12
sign
to
it-
13 months out on engine 3. I'm 24 months out on the tower. And engine 9, I'm probably 15 months out
But what I'm saying is if you sign the contract today, your first payment's not due
for 30 months on the engine
for
9.
30 months. Okay, I thought it was 24.
So there's no contract signed at this point?
You have to sign, there's no contract
No.
signed.
Okay.
You have to sign a contract.
All right, so just tell me what you, if the town said to you, what contracts do you need signed this year? What would it be?
This
Right, but this current year,
fiscal
we're
This
in-
fiscal year that you're preparing this budget for?
No, this is next fiscal year.
Okay, so in
So
next.
we are in the current fiscal year, and we plan on ordering engine 3 and putting engine 3 out to bid in this current fiscal year.
Okay.
Although the expense for that is noted in the submission for the coming fiscal year, for fiscal year 2019.
Right, but it will actually be spread out over time.
We would expect that to be financed and spread out over time.
Okay.
I
So
think
what
that
else?
The way this has been submitted, it looks like you're over $3 million. You're asking $3 million in fiscal year 19.
Right, so
The
what,
way it's been submitted.
Right.
You want,
So-
that's what you're asking for, to be given to the fire department in fiscal year.
Well, here's the problem, right? We tried to lay the payments out, and we even used Tony's numbers, and they just blew it out of the water. So we have no idea how to fiscally, responsibly come up with a capital budget with numbers for the trucks. We've
Right,
talked
just-
about this numerous times.
just start from square one, pretend I know nothing, because that will probably be accurate, okay?
Okay?
All right, So what have you already signed a contract for? You've already signed
None.
a contract for engine 7.
Engine
So engine
7.
7.
That's just
Engine
continued
7
payments.
is continued
Engine
payments.
7,
We've already made a number of
All right,
payments on it.
what else do we already have
air
a
packs.
signed contract on?
the air packs.
You already have a signed contract?
Yep, we already have the air packs.
And this is financed over time, or that's how
Yes.
much you
So,
expect in the next?
that's-
Karen, if you look at the budget document,
Mhm.
okay, for example, on engine 7, it shows 3 years of payments remaining.
Right,
But at the end, it shows you what the 6-year total is.
right.
And in fact, that engine was more than that 6-year total.
No, it wasn't.
Was it?
No, it came in under. Cost of the air packs are 282.7.
No, I'm looking at engine 7.
Oh, I'm sorry. Engine 7 is which one?
No, I understand that. So what else do we already
Yeah, I
have a
don't
signed
understand how the
contract
total
on?
matches,
The
because we spent more than
compressors?
that on
No, because you already paid toward it already.
This is the 6-year total
Oh,
for
this year,
19
6
through
years, that's-
24.
okay.
Okay, so would you say your top priority for the next fiscal year budget is air compressor? Would you agree with that statement?
No, the air compressors have already been ordered.
No, it hasn't.
No?
No, the air.
We haven't got
compressor-
anything
the air-
for 'em?
We need an air
Air
compressor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We need an
You said
air-
air compressor, I thought you said air packs.
Okay.
So the air packs have been delivered, correct?
The air packs we already are using this.
We're already in, and we're paying for them over time.
Yeah, we
Yes.
don't have anything here for air packs.
Yes, we
right?
do.
Oh, air packs, signed contract. You already have the payments. Okay, so what about air compressor?
We don't have that yet.
That's something you need for the next
For
fiscal year,
July
or it's
1.
already
We're
been
trying to get
budgeted
it
for?
to, no, it's not budgeted for, we're budgeting for it right now.
All right, so
And we're hoping we can make it to the beginning of next fiscal year on the current one.
Okay. So would you say that's your most pressing need, no pun intended?
No, we need the engine, and we need the tower. What happens when we don't fund them?
So you're saying the ladder truck and what?
Karen, what needs to happen is they need to create a truck fund. The problem is, see, we've laid this out for numerous years, and we came up with numbers, so we spaced these things out. What happened was, they didn't fund any of the trucks, so what happens is they all backed up. So they're in theory on top of each other. So what we did is, we started it last year, basically, we put the whole truck in for FY19. So if you look at even engine 3, the town's not gonna have to expend $750,000 even in this current year. It wouldn't be due until year 2, but what happens is, then what they do is Tony would figure out what the actual payment would be, whether it makes sense to go a 3-year lease, a 5-year lease, a 6-year lease, and then that's how the number gets divided up.
So
But
what-
right now, you have engine 3, engine 9, and the ladder truck that's all backed up on top of each other, on top of some other things.
Well, you're asking
Like
about-
this is an off year for hose, so next year it might be okay, the year after it might be $45,000 in hose.
But you're asking about prioritization. In this document, even though there are several large items listed in the coming fiscal year, the document actually reflects the prioritization. Okay? Because engine 3 is ready to go out to bid now.
Almost.
Almost ready to go out to bid. Okay? And the ladder truck is 25 years old and is scheduled for replacement, but it's a 2-year, it's a 24-month process.
Here's the problem.
Okay?
If you don't.
Engine 9 will be 25 years old in 2020. And that's why there's no money in the 2019 budget, but if you look at that page, it's budgeted for 2020. So that's the priority. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the priority. It's engine 3, the tower, and engine 9. But for planning purposes, they're all in the fiscal year 19 budget, even though we would expect those amounts to be financed and spread over time with staggered delivery dates. Does that make sense? Did I say it right?
How often do you have to use your ladder truck?
How often? Off the top of my head, I don't have the number right now. I can get it for you.
Hopefully, we don't have to use it.
Right. I'm just trying to figure out,
We used it quite a bit already.
I'm just
And that
saying,
one.
Beth, I mean, you have 3 trucks. Yeah.
Well,
I
the
don't
problem
think-
is they're 25 and 30 years old. I mean,
Right,
they
I
don't even meet
understand.
codes anymore.
Just-
Right.
It's
And
just,
then we just keep throwing money into brakes and
Just to add historical
engines.
perspective, there isn't,
Right.
hasn't been any way to budget in, because in the past, you know, we've said, all right, in, you know, fiscal year 2012, we want this truck, in 2014, this truck, but they just, you know, forget it, and that ends up, you know, being lost somewhere. So you have to at least, you know, express the fact, well, yeah, we really need these trucks.
You might be
But it
asking
does-
for $3 million this year, but you're not gonna spend $3 million
So,
this
so, I
year.
mean,
You're just asking them to commit to a schedule where they're replacing a really old truck once a year, basically.
Until you caught up, and then once you're caught up, you need to be on basically a 20-year life cycle. That's what we had, and then they got off of it, and the problem now is everything else is jammed up,
So when you extend.
Now let's just put it in perspective. Engine 2, which is our first attack engine, is 15 years old. So in theory, in 5 years, that engine needs to be replaced. And what happens is, what no one really understands is, you were at the radio meeting along with Mike, and you heard how bad the radio transmissions were for the radio system. Well, it got to that point where now you're seeing, wow, this really needs to be replaced because this is really bad. Well, this is exactly what happens with engines. So I want to say Stanley made the statement about if we can expedite it or we can do something to get the radio system quicker and pay a premium. It's the same deal. You really can't do that with that, or you can't do that with fire trucks. Fire trucks are a year to 15, engines are a year, 12 to 15 month build times. So if the engine breaks tomorrow and we go out to bid and we sign a contract, we're 12 to 15 months no matter what we do here, guys. So when we look at a life cycle, Mike's right, when we look at a 30-year-old truck, a 25-year-old truck, they're way past their life expectancies. Their life expectancies technically are around 20 years old. We're holding trucks 20, now we got 31 years, we got another truck coming up at 15 years, which is the primary attack piece, and in 5 years, you need to replace it. But how do you replace it when you got engine 3, engine 9, the tower truck, you got all these other trucks behind you, and then before you know it, all these other ones are gonna creep up. I mean, we laughed that the rescue truck is 11 years old now. By the time you get through all these, the rescue truck's probably gonna be close to 25 years old.
So we have a replacement schedule, but, and a plan for replacing things roughly at the 20-year level. We are never able to comply with that plan because we don't have,
We
don't
try to
have the
replace them
funding.
within 25 years. The problem is, we're over 30 years, and, I mean, last year, we had drive shafts drop out of trucks.
Engine 3, and so, yeah, it's cheaper to repair a truck than to buy a new one, except that we keep throwing good money after bad. You know, you gotta spend $30,000 a year to fix engine 3. And
We had-
you get to the point where
Engine 7 is the perfect example. We had 3 catastrophic failures in a year and a half at fires, where the truck, we had actually had to push the truck out of the way and bring another truck in to pump it. And then the town said, yeah, okay, let's go buy an engine, let's get it immediately. Well, the engine took, I think it was 13 months to come in. That's what happens though. You can't, so when you look at it and you look at all these things that are due and you're looking at $3 million this year, it's really not $3 million. All we're saying is we have to commit to something so we can design it. I mean, designing a truck is from the ground up, so we're talking 6-7 months to design the engine. And then by the time we go out to bid, you're probably 8 months out. And then once you sign the contract, you're a whole nother year plus before you even get it. So it's not a quick process.
So I know my work at the Housing Authority, we have a 5-year capital plan that is prioritized according to what needs to be done first. And every year, we look at the capital plan and say, okay, what needs to be done this year? And I know Tony Genovese does that, and he builds it into the debt model and all of that. Are the fire trucks not built into that model?
So we have, not really.
No.
We have tried.
His answer.
And 2 years ago, we spent a lot of time and effort to both educate the public and ourselves and the Board of Finance about our long-term equipment needs. And the Finance Department and Tony developed a 10-year capital plan. But the Board of Finance did not adopt it, and that would have allowed level payments over those 10 years.
I think it was like 318,000.
Well, some years were under that, and
Right.
some.
Yeah,
you know.
so, I mean, it leveled around the 300,000 a year to catch up on all this and to keep moving forward, so we didn't have big years where you're looking at $1 million, $700,000. And the problem is, the Board of Finance just, I don't know, they didn't
Well, so
want to do it.
that plan, which is, I think, which is similar to what you're talking about, that plan was not adopted, right? And the capital budget that is approved every year has a 6-year projection in it, but I think I don't think that's ever really followed. I think what's only formally approved is the upcoming year. But if that old, and we can go down that road again with them if that's how the Board of Finance wants to proceed, but we don't have that indication or direction. So
We're
we did
almost-
that. They didn't adopt it. They didn't take any actions consistent with it. In fact, rejected our proposals that were in line with those projections. And I don't want to rehash old news, but there's context, and it relates to what you're asking. And so this, for right now, given that history, we think this is the better way to do it. Even though that these are the purchases for the next that we want to commit to, and we want the Board of Finance to commit to. Big ticket items that would need to be financed, even though we don't really expect that money to be, paid out all up front in the coming fiscal year, even though it's in here like that.
Well, you'll have an opportunity on December 5th
Yeah.
to let them know, this is how you'd like to proceed and why you did it this way. And I'm sure it will promote some discussion as to what the Board of Selectmen pretty much went along. We thought it was a good idea, but to do it that way, but Board of Finance did not last year. So we'll see what they say. And my apologies.
You have to go to your early commitment.
Yeah.
So, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Okay.
Okay.
So, we have a long agenda, so I'd like to move along. This has, because the Finance Department needed it and we hadn't met yet, this was already submitted, but we have an opportunity now to change, approve it as submitted, or make any changes. And I'm very comfortable with the way it is.
I don't see where there's any room to make any changes. I mean, the things that we're looking at have been pushed down the road so far. What are you gonna change? What are you gonna take out that?
I mean, look, I think that what we could, I would not take any of these items out, but we could guess, or we could estimate how they might be financed and show those payments spread out instead of all in fiscal 19. But we think that that's the Board of Finance's prerogative to tell us or to
Well,
determine
yeah,
how
it
they're going to be
absolutely
financed.
is.
So that's why I would rather do it this way.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, we don't wanna spend money that we don't have to spend, but some of this stuff is pretty serious.
Yeah, but what everybody has to remember is you're not looking to spend all the money in 1 year either.
No, but we're asking for it next fiscal year on this document.
You you are, because what you're doing is you're saying the truck, you believe that the truck is needed now, meaning they're not gonna come up with all of it, they would space it out, just like the air pack deal, right? The air packs we asked for, I want to say it was 300,000 this year. And they approved the 300,000, but they spaced it out. Whether they go 3-year or 4-year leases on the air packs, that's their prerogative.
Part of it is even
If
though.
we space it out in FY 19, 20, 21, 22, all they do is if they cut 19, it just kicks it down the road at 20 and it kicks it down the road at 23.
But if the Board of Finance didn't want to spend it out and somehow had all this money, it could be spent in the coming fiscal year.
Sure.
So, I mean, I think it's the difference between what kind of equipment we want to, that we need and how much it costs versus how it's going to be financed.
The only thing I would say is that if there's a way you could prioritize so that you're not asking for the initial commitment for the truck, multiple trucks in 1 year, I would think that would be better. So you have a current truck that's 25, you're asking for commitment
But
in FY
Karen,
19.
what we're trying to say is we did that, and we're past when we had one truck for 1 year, we had one truck 2 years after that, we had a truck the following year. Problem is, when it got kicked all the way down the road, and you already exceeded all those deadlines, you want to, basically what you want to do is come up with another set of deadlines, but you're also talking 25 to 30-year-old trucks. What truck are you gonna, when the life expectancy technically is 20 years, what truck do you think we could push down the road for another year or two?
Yeah,
That's
I know.
basically what it
It's
comes
just
down to.
we want the commitment. We want
to space it out. We
We
really
want the
do.
commitment now. We can space.
What should
can and
happen
will
is, when
space
you
it.
do it, you should be replacing a truck every 4 years. You shouldn't be looking to replace 3 trucks in 3 years. You should be looking to do 1 truck every 4 to 5 years. And as long as you're doing that, then you'll be fine moving forward. The problem is we're so backed up because nothing's been funded. You have to.
Well, then you wouldn't be at 31 years.
That's right.
That's the real problem here. is You've got antiquated equipment that is just gonna end up costing us more money if we don't get it done.
Well, plus you're talking of reliability. If the
Well,
truck,
you're talking a lot of stuff.
if the dump truck breaks, it's no big deal, right? You go back to the yard and it doesn't get done today. If a fire truck breaks and you're on the scene, what happens? You can't come back then. I'm sorry, we'll come back tomorrow, or we'll come back next week when the truck's fixed, and we'll put your house fire out.
And you've had that.
Yeah, we had to
Yeah.
push the truck. We had to push the truck out of the way.
And we had engine 3, the drive shaft fell out when we were responding to a call. I mean, that's like,
It's
Is there any-
it didn't even get there.
Is there
a lot of
any
money to
big
ask for
difference?
once.
And I know it doesn't matter, you have that one fire, you have it, but is it between the 3 trucks that you're asking them to commit to, is there a big difference in use between those 3?
They all do different things. So like engine 9 is a motor vehicle truck, goes to all motor vehicle accidents, motor vehicle fires.
So you probably use that, I would guess, a lot more than others, no?
So,
Well, it's the wrong question. Because you need the capability. So, it's not like we never use any of them.
Right.
Some might get used more often, but that's not there's nothing exotic here that doesn't get used.
Right, but I know,
Right.
and ideally, you need all of them to be ready all the time. But is there one truck that you use 80%, like the 80-20 rule? Is there one truck you use 80% of the time and the other one's 20% of the time? I'm just trying to get a sense of that.
So-
I'm not gonna go, I won't go on the record and state that one truck you need more than the other, because I think they all need to be replaced. It's kicked so far down the road, they need to be replaced.
If you want, we do have running rules where on this response, we have, for a brush fire, right down, engine 3 goes. For automobile accident, engine 9 goes. For a structural response, engine 2 goes, but you also need engine 7 as the backup. So if you want that, we can do that. And then, being perfectly honest, during the day, we don't have enough people to be able to man all the trucks. And a lot of times, we don't have to because it's on an automated alarm. Well, if we get one truck that goes and we realize that it was an automated alarm and there's no big deal, then we don't worry about it.
Let's put it,
But it's, we do want the capability to have these, because
let's put it in perspective. Engine 7 is brand new, right? 2015, or actually it's gonna be 3 years old, believe it or not. So engine 7 is 2015, we did a JCC fire last year, right? So came in, 3 alarms, went down there, engine 7 didn't start in the bay. Okay, brand new truck didn't start. We ended up taking engine 9 because if one of the trucks is out, you have to mirror truck somewhat so they have similar capabilities. So engine 9 went and did the work at engine 7. Once we had a tow company come on an emergency, they jump started the truck. We got the truck down there and the engine 7 ended up pumping after engine 9, but engine 9 was doing engine 7's job, and engine 7 basically ended up pumping from the hydrant up. So the trucks have multiple uses. So if one truck goes down, you need another truck to back it up. So
And as
You-
trucks
you
get
need
older,
this.
the likelihood that the one that's gonna go down increases.
right. So not
They was
saying-
talking about brush fires, we've had, what, 5 brush fire calls in the last 3 weeks? I'm including like the wood chips, right?
right.
It's just 2 or 3 calls in the past
I
week.
see what you're trying to do.
You gotta respond to them all.
I just don't know how you get there. I don't know how you get there. I mean, things are needed and they've been pushed down for so long. I don't know how you prioritize them.
Well, nobody's committing to 1, 2, 3. I'm guessing if someone would say, we'll commit to fiscal year 19, 20, and 21, you could say, okay, here's the truck we want in 19, here's the truck we want in 20, here's the truck we want in 21. But they can't commit future year budgets. That's your issue, right?
Yeah, and the more expensive items tend to get kicked down the road farther, which is why we ended up with a.
The only other way to do it
37-year-old
is you do a truck fund. So you gotta put a considerable amount of money in a truck fund, and then as the truck comes up, then the Board of Selectmen can authorize to purchase, say, engine 3 or engine 9 or ladder truck.
Do you know what?
The problem with that is that now that we are paying for apparatus in arrears, to build up a reserve means you gotta pay in arrears for the ones you're ordering and build up a reserve at the same time, so it's.
Do you know what, let's just say everything was current. Do you know what you would want in a truck fund every year to build up a responsible reserve?
Probably around $250,000.
Because.
$200,000 to $250,000 a year, probably, realistically.
If you're gonna replace a truck every 5 years,
Well, probably 4.
every four or 5 years, and trucks are approaching $1 million apiece. Some more, some less, depending on the apparatus, yeah, that's a.
$750,000.
Okay,
Carry on.
any changes to the submitted, capital budget request? Okay. I move for its approval, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Horton seconds. Is there any further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you. And so, it's already been submitted. Can you report to the Finance Department tomorrow that we ratified it? Chief's report.
apparatus. The trucks are going out now for their PMs and check of brakes this year. Talked about Rescue 1 earlier. Engine 2's going out. The ladder's out right now. That should be coming back. It can come back today or come back tomorrow. Unless they'll take engine 2. We did have an issue yesterday. Actually, we'll go down the radio system upgrade. We had an issue yesterday. The town, like Beth said, we went to a meeting 2 weeks ago for the radio system, and it was give a presentation, and Board of Selectmen
agreed to move forward, and the Board of Finance also did the same last week. To do it, they realized that the reception and how bad the radio system is failing is in dire need. Yesterday, we had a catastrophic failure with the radio system. The fire channel was down probably for a good 2 hours. By the time Northeastern came out and tried to diagnose the problem corrected itself. So we don't know why, what the issue was. We could talk to, the firefighters could talk to each other, we could talk to dispatch, but dispatch could not talk to us. So we couldn't get, you wouldn't be able to get any information or anything from the dispatcher. So I have a call into Northeastern this morning. I'm waiting for a call back. They'll probably call me back tonight because we're talking about the new system, but we're also looking for a temporary fix, what we can do, because this just seems to be happening more and more often, especially over the last month. The actual console on the fire side and the police side has probably dropped about 10 to 12 times.
So
where
Sean,
we couldn't talk, they couldn't talk back to us.
so we've had issues with the radio system for a number of years now, but this sounds like something different and worse. I mean, I
This
thought the
system-
problems
this
were
is-
isolated calls in areas and all that, and static and garbled calls when it rained and sort of these operational difficulties. Whereas now we're getting entire wholesale failures of the system,
Yep.
and multiple times.
The life expectancy of the radio system is 12 to 15 years. You're at the 15 years, so you should be expecting these failures. And we've been told numerous times for years that the consoles need to be upgraded, the comparators need to be upgraded. And this is what happens when you wait and you wait for catastrophic failure. Now we're in dire need to get the new consoles. I mean, the good thing about the consoles is if it goes through December 5th at the town meeting, we're gonna order the system. It's in two parts. So one part, the first part are the consoles, and the second part is the actual system itself, which they basically go hand in hand together, but we could do it as two separate projects. So the first thing we'll do is we'll order the consoles, and the consoles are anywhere between probably 90 to 120 days out. So we'll get those hopefully in 3 to 4 months and get them installed so we can start using those. And then the system is most likely a 12-year build, so we'll see then turn the
12
radio
months.
system on. 12-month,
There's a 12-year.
12-month.
Can I just ask a question? Did you find out what the problem was that created the 2-hour downtime?
The other times that were happening, they had to actually go into the brain of it and reset the consoles to, because the actual system is failing, so they're doing like hard resets on the consoles. And the other day, they have no idea because when they got down there, the actual console reset itself and fixed itself, so it's hard to diagnose when it's not happening.
Now, we've been told over the years that the parts are harder to come by and that the manufacturer doesn't support them anymore. And so, there's a real question about whether it can be, how many repairs can be made going forward. So it's
Basically,
it's fine.
I think the console is from 1985, so
I think it's 22 years old,
no, it's more than
85. Oh no, 30.
Yeah. Add another decade, please, or not. Please don't add another decade.
that. So it's it is a problem. We're gonna have to deal with hopefully on December 5th. We get the approval and then we can move forward to order what we need to order to start fixing the system. But we're gonna have these issues over the next year.
And this is on top of, even when it was new, we had dead zones in areas where we didn't have coverage. So we get to the point where, where you have an accident, some months ago on the corner of Seymour Road, Newton Road, and the radios aren't working. The cell phones don't work in that area, and people can't,
Remember when the
Fire
system was
communicate.
designed years ago, 15 years ago, it was designed at 75% of the town, 90% coverage. So right now we're looking at, try to go 95, 95. So we're trying to get more coverage in a lot more areas and you get better reception. And then the question is whether we go analog or digital on the system. Analog is what we have now, digital is, the clarity is a lot better. There's pros and cons to each one. So, but we were down for a couple hours yesterday.
So the proposal isn't coming from us, it's not our committee. Do we need any action to show our support for it?
A 10, not 12.5.
I think it would. I don't think it would hurt if it came up at the town meeting that the fire commission would support this proposal. I think that would be a good thing. I don't think it has a lot of weight. I just think it's that you support the project.
Yeah, it's not a line.
As a commission.
It's not an inline. We don't have lined authority over it.
No.
It's not an approval of the specific proposal
No,
itself.
but I don't think it hurt.
All right. So it's more like a resolution of support.
Sure.
Yeah. So the motion would be that the fire commission resolves to support the proposal for a new radio system, the radio system upgrade. That's my motion.
Second.
Karen seconds it. You want to talk about it more? Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So that passed unanimously, so we can
Thank you, Karen.
I'll say that it has unanimous support of the fire commission. Okay, what else you got, Sean?
FDIC is again this year. It's in Indianapolis again, like it is every year. We'd like to go. It's in April. I want to say it's like in April on the 22nd or 24th. That's the fire convention again in Indianapolis. That's when all the equipment's there. There's like 1,200 vendors. All the major truck dealers are down there and everything else. And we've been doing that the last 4 years down there. And we'd like to continue that. And
And I've
have
seen
four
the class
people- have
schedule.
4
so-
people go, and the training down there is
So
phenomenal.
basically, you're spending 3 full days in class, if I recall correctly.
Wednesday, Thursday.
2 full
Yep,
days?
yep, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
So it's a one-stop shop for classes.
Yep.
And in prior years, we've sent 5 officers,
5 people, 5 firefighters.
5
Yep.
firefighters. And so the proposal is to cut that back to 4
Sure.
this year.
What's the cost?
What's the registration? What do you need to book now?
We actually just have a hold on the hotel rooms because those are hard to get. It's roughly $400 for the registration per guy.
Plus airfare.
Plus airfare.
Airfare,
and
hotel meals.
Yep.
So it's not an insignificant expense. But it's
Once you
so
get
we
out of
looked at
these-
it every year, I think it's both cost effective, to get that, our firefighters to get that concentrated training. And it's not the same guys that go, the same firefighters that go every year either. I mean, I think there's overlap, but not, and as we are in the market for new equipment, the exhibitions are valuable too. Because you see things.
The
and things are
exhibition's
brought-
unbelievable.
Are
because
brought
you
to your
can see
attention
everything.
that might not see others. For example, we saved a considerable amount of money on our pager expense. We used to have a much bigger line item for pages when we all carried pagers. And then we've eliminated that with the phone calls and text messages of dispatch, directly to our phones.
But down there, you get to see the
And
engines.
so that's
you get
something
to
that
see
came
Cummins.
from this conference.
Is that something you budget for every year?
Yeah.
Okay. What
It's in
what
the
is
training
that?
budget.
Training?
Yep. Comes out of training and conferences.
Which is the pager line, Sean? Oh, here we go. So it's a the pager budget's now $3,000 a year,
Right.
and it used to be significantly more.
I think it was 85, it was up there. And not only did you save money, the news, when you get on your phone, it's much more reliable than the actual alpha pagers.
Yeah, because you're actually hearing the dispatch.
Yep. Plus, it's one less thing for dispatch to do, because it automatically gets sent. It's just a voice recording, and the control thing is in the closet, and what happens is the DTMF goes off, and it sends out a tone to all your cell phones as they end up getting the calls.
Okay. So, I move to approve, motion to approve 4 firefighters to go to the FDIC conference in 2018. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
There was a price reduction this year versus last year?
They send in one less guy.
One less guy.
One less guys, so it's like 20%.
And just that's in professional development in this budget, or is that?
Professional development and training. See, where it says professional,
35,000. So you're not asking for any additional budget, it's already budgeted for, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, all in favor? What else you got, Sean?
The winter equipment rental, that's to, and that's a good topic. We can rent a skidster, or small front end loader. We've been using them in years past to clear hydrants when we have deep snow. We didn't need it last year. We actually could have used one for one of the storms last year. We ended up not doing it. But it's a good thing to have, especially if we have storms or whatever. We can clear the hydrants and get them all cleared out. So this has been a topic of conversation over the last few years. We just really never acted on it until this year. So the cost of renting a piece of equipment is probably about $6,500 a year.
The comparison is if you need a machine on an emergency
You
basis,
don't get it.
if you can find it, you're gonna spend that much it's like 1,500 a day or more, right?
It's not that, it's just a matter of being able to get it there when you need it. So it's more of
But the
a,
6,500 for a season is.
The 6,500 for a snow season is not bad. It basically runs from actually like mid-November to, I want to say, the end of March, second week of March, or the end of March, beginning of April. So,
Where do we have hydrants down?
what's that?
Where do we have hydrants?
We have hydrants on 69, 63, coming up Center Road to Westward Road and up Rimmon Road to the water tank. And that's how, and we have some of them down, we have a couple right down to the high school.
And what do you do if you have to clear hydrants and you don't have a skid steer?
We dig them out by hand.
Through the snowbanks that are hard packed from the
Right.
snow.
Do you have a set number of
We'll
hours?
call you, Karen.
Yeah.
Do you have
I'll
a
bring
set
my
number of
shovel.
hours with that?
That's what it is. I'm sorry?
Is there a set number of hours on the equipment?
Yeah, so they allowed you so many hours per month. So if you exceed that, then there's an hourly fee on that.
It's per month and not the whole season? What if you have a lot of snow?
No, Mike, I don't know. I can't honestly answer that 100%.
I would think the season, because
Well, they may not be checking it every month.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't
Man,
think
it
the
may be
season-
the
Probably
total.
just-
end.
It's
It
probably
probably
the
just
total
spreads it out over
X amount per month
over
adds
the 4
up.
months or whatever.
And how much snow are we gonna get this winter?
We're
I
not
don't know,
gonna
you
get
tell me.
any-
If I knew that, I wouldn't be here.
That's the thing. But it's not, you know, I don't think they use it only for snow. It's for any time they gotta move something.
You know what? We laugh about it, but a couple weeks ago we had that bad windstorm, and we probably had, I think we had 38 calls that day. It was quite considerable. We were out cutting trees, Public Works was out, but we were out cutting trees, and we had the guys moving them all off by hand, where if we had a machine as we're cutting them off, somebody could just be pushing them off the side of the road to keep the roads open, but
And
Yeah,
Public
trade-
Works doesn't have anything like that? Or
they do, but they're, I think they have 6 guys. And I don't think they weren't in.
What if you?
So we have had to cut trees in order to get to a fire.
Yeah.
Right? And on an emergency basis, that's not something that Public Works is set up to do. So it doesn't, so they're.
We work with Public Works, it's not like we don't, they're out there.
This supplements what it, and this supplements what Public Works does and has some different uses as well with regard to the.
But like with the snow, if we have snow, they're not gonna go and clear hydrants when they have to keep opening roads and pushing back roads and sight lines and stuff like that. Hydrants are just not what they do.
Okay, so they don't have skid steers that you think are sitting around?
Well, they don't have a skid
Well,
steer. No,
they don't have a skid
no,
steer.
They don't have a
That
small-
was
And
my
if they have,
question.
and if they
Yeah.
have snow, they're not gonna, if they have that much snow, they're pushing back parking lots and they're limited in what they can do.
Look, it's it's an expense and it's like insurance.
Listen, hopefully hopefully we don't have to use it, but if we need it, we have it.
Well, how much does one cost anyway?
To buy? 90 grand, 70.
A little
80,
buck.
How would you
50
transport it around? You just drive it around?
Just drive it right down the road.
They don't go very fast.
Well, you get a hydrant every 500 feet over here.
Well, I'm saying if you went to clear trees or something on a fire. If the fire was the other end.
No, well, yeah, but you remember, you're not, if you're fighting a fire, you're not going to clear trees. You're gonna, what he's talking about is we had the hurricane a few years ago, and we had a structure fire, and we actually had to cut our way to get into the house, to get to the house to put the fire out. Does it happen? Yeah, it happens, but
Well, what did we
the
do
storms,
last year,
the
Sean?
storms have,
Didn't we rent one last year?
we looked at renting one last year, and we ended up not doing it because we were too late. We might be too late this time around.
We talk about it every year.
Yeah, okay, so they didn't have the equipment, they couldn't do it.
Right.
Okay.
We put it actually into the budget a few years ago. I want to say about 4 years
Do
ago.
we have the money in
right?
this year's budget, Sean?
We'll take it as something, we'll fight. But then again, if you need it,
Well, we've got,
the other thing about it is, say we don't need it, say we had a storm, we don't need it, or we cleared the snow for the hydrant and the town needs it, Public Works can borrow it and go and move snow.
How about
It's not like-
can I borrow?
Yeah.
we can't borrow Public Works equipment. That raises other issues, I think.
that's union issues, but if the town needed the machine, like,
If they can borrow,
when we had
they
the
can
blizzard, the main payloader was down for that storm, so they didn't have it, so we were scrambling to find what we could find to clear snow off of roads.
You know, they could use it to clear the sidewalks in the center of town too, for that matter, if they needed it. I don't know, it's
It's an insurance policy.
It's
that's
not
all it
something
is.
that's specifically budgeted, but we would,
So if we don't do it, we'd have to rent it on a daily basis.
If you could find one.
and the last time we tried to find one in the middle of a storm, we couldn't.
Oh, that's always the case.
You're not gonna find
But
it.
now, if you could find one, it
You
would
won't
cost,
find-
it
yeah,
would
unless
cost
you-
more money.
Somebody's got one, they're making money with it.
What's that?
I said, if we could find one, it would cost more money per day than
Sure.
this rate. So what's your pleasure?
Did you see if one's available, Sean?
I did not. I'd have to.
What's he gonna do? I mean,
Anybody read the Farmer's Almanac this year?
Yeah, they said we're gonna get walked.
Is that what they
Yeah.
say?
Really?
They say that every year.
Heavy snow, though?
They've seen that every year.
Oh, yeah. All these nice fall days, you thought that was just because we deserve it or something? No. Yeah, we're gonna
So look, you know, I don't wanna spend the money.
nobody wants to
That's
spend
my
the money.
issue.
I don't wanna spend the money, but I'm gonna be kicking myself if we need it and don't have it. So,
Well, it's our job to spend it and not to spend it, so it's, what's your pleasure, as you say.
you know,
I don't want it to end up costing us $12,000 to have to rent something on a daily basis.
Yeah,
It won't
Would you-
cost you 12, you gotta be able to find it, that's the bigger thing.
So you're hedging your bet at $6,500 is what you're doing. And that almanac is correct, you think? Yeah.
And it stays here at the fire station?
Yep,
It gets delivered and picked up?
yep.
What do you think, Mike?
I'm gonna even be able to get it here, just,
What do you think makes sense?
You gotta have somebody that uses it, that knows what they're doing too. You do a lot of damage with something.
we have a lot of guys in the field.
Have you priced, like, have you gotten 3 quotes or where you?
You can't get three, you're not gonna get 3 quotes on this, you're gonna go with whoever's got it. We'll call around, but we'd be lucky if we even get one right now.
There's only a few
This late in the
quotes
season, there's
dealers
only a
running
few
around.
people that carry them.
G&A.
G&H doesn't carry, you gotta go to like F&W,
F&W.
W.I. Clark.
Oh, go ahead. I mean, go ahead. What do you, go ahead. Make a motion, make a motion.
F&W had a pile of them out there the other day.
Who did?
F&W.
Yeah.
Where, is it post road?
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right, so is there a motion to that effect? Did you make the motion, Mike?
I made the motion.
Okay, is there a second?
So okay.
Motion is to authorize the rental of a skidster or similar machine for snow removal and other emergency use in the winter, for the winter season.
I would like to know what line item it's coming out of and make sure it's not gonna be anything that, you know, puts us over.
Okay, so I'll second the motion in order to get the discussion on it. And can we identify a line item where it would, where it's budget, we could apply that budget, Sean?
So,
Technical?
I mean,
Equipment rental tends to be the office equipment and stuff inside the building. There's money left there. I'll probably not know. You know, so I think the first question is, what line item does it appropriately fall under?
Appropriately probably falls on the rentals.
Under rentals. And there's $4,000 left, so we would need a line item transfer from somewhere else or more to cover it and other budgeted items under rentals. So that's your answer, Karen. Rentals, but we need to move some money in there, which we do all the time.
Yeah.
Move money around.
Do you have a place where you know you're way under budget, that you're not gonna hit it?
Not right now. Couldn't tell you right now.
Because equipment maintenance will go way over.
That's it. It's probably the line.
Well,
Probably equipment maintenance. Repair maintenance machine.
yeah, I said that's gonna go way over.
It's gonna go over anyway.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion? I would simply note that we can approve, but we may not be able to find a machine at that price. All right, all in favor?
I would just say at that, it's approved at that price.
At 6,500. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Let me ask you a question. It's a
3-1.
good point.
So
What
it's
happens if
really
it comes back and it comes back at a higher number than 6,500? And what do we do?
Call a special meeting to approve it,
Okay,
or he doesn't get it.
okay. That's what I thought.
You know, I mean, I think there's a limit to how much we want to spend on something like that.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. And I also would just want to be assured that somebody, Sean, is overseeing the use of it and make sure it doesn't get put to any other use,
Yep.
that it's only for the use of the fire department.
Yep.
So I think that probably has all kinds of issues that would get raised if it gets used for other purposes.
Well, we've discussed use by Public Works, so I think what we're talking about is town uses.
Right.
Okay.
Our experience over the years is more the opposite, whereas the volunteers bring their own equipment, private equipment to be used for public, you know, for public fire, public purposes.
Yeah.
That's, which is I think what you were asking about, but it's the reverse is actually.
Well, that's appreciated.
The reverse
and
is
it may have its own
actually,
issues,
what happens.
But I just want to make
And
sure
then
that this
equipment breaks
doesn't get
down
used for
and-
private
and-
purposes.
Okay, next item on the, Sean, do you have anything else on your report?
No. Go into executive session.
For security?
Yeah.
All right, we'll do that later.
Mike, what time did you tell me the football game was starting? 8:30 tonight?
I think it's 7:30. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Moving along there.
Engine 3 bid?
Yeah, we talked about that.
Okay. Oh, December schedule. Are you having, the association having, Santa at the firehouse this year?
We are December 16th. I believe it's from 12 to 3 if I remember correctly.
And lights on the Christmas tree.
Yes.
So I'm gonna ask about that.
Lights on the tree, they're actually in the bay. I have to go pick up more of them. We're gonna be short, and the guys are actually gonna start putting them up tomorrow night on the tree out front.
So so there will be lights on the Christmas tree, there will be holiday lights on the tree
Holiday
in the
tree.
triangle this year.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a,
We put the purchase order back in July.
But it was an issue last year.
yes,
That is good news.
okay. And will there be a tree lighting?
No.
Or are you just gonna flip the switch and turn them on?
Flip the switch and turn it on.
And menorah.
have
What'd you
to
say?
find them, and there was an issue with the menorah last year. We actually,
The menorah went up last year, though. Didn't
the menorah went up last year. There's some problems with the menorah that come along with the menorah.
I understand.
Depends on which way you're coming, when the light gets turned on.
Or which, from left to right or right to left, is that the issue?
Well, it depends on which way you're driving up the road.
Gotta turn it this way, so you can't see.
We're gonna have somebody hold it this year. and
Well, we
as the
actually,
time goes on,
we actually had a rabbi doing it. He quit.
He quit.
It was too much
Yeah,
pressure?
no, a lot of complaints. So when he quits, and you want the fire chief to be in charge of the menorahs,
Why don't you have Rabbi Shapiro endorse your,
it? Was it up, does it go like
Order of
left,
lighting.
left to right or right to left?
no,
Well, you
we had
read from
somebody,
right
we actually had somebody
right
doing
to
it.
left.
I'm dead serious. He quit.
Trouble reading from left to right. I don't
Didn't
know.
understand why.
Right to left.
I mean, it's the menorah. I mean,
Yeah, but
you
the
see it
menorah-
one way
the,
coming up one way, and
the Torah is
people
right
saw
to
it a
left.
different way. They saw it as a sign of disrespect.
I believe it.
Don't believe me. I'm
So it's a little
taking a
tough.
shot.
Hold on, my neighbor's got a menorah in his mailbox.
yeah, I'm
It's
thinking
visible
at
from
home,
both sides of the
write it
street.
from the left to the right. We light it from the
Yeah,
left.
but then the question
Well,
is,
you light it
did you
from
have
left
to
to
do
the
a
right,
prayer?
Yeah, when you're lighting it,
When as the
that's
sun
exactly
goes
right.
down,
But you start on the left.
when the
Oh,
sun
yeah,
goes
I
down,
thought
you
you
have to
meant
do
when
a
you're
prayer,
reading.
and you
You light the
light
shine,
your
which
reading,
is
go
the
left to right. No,
in
you
the
go
middle.
right.
I think
And
you
then
were
right
left.
to
Yeah.
the left.
This
No,
is-
you're right. When you're lighting, you go left to right. When you're reading, you go
Yeah.
right to left.
Yes, but I think if you want to just, I think it would be good, and I would be happy to call Rabbi Shapiro and confirm that. And then we could do it with these, anyone that called a complaint, we could refer them to her with complaints.
Sound like
He's
all
from the
the
neighborhood.
information.
I see problems here.
So
I do think if you have Christmas tree, you should have them.
right, more speech is better. I mean no disrespect when I ask this question, but do those rules apply to electric menorahs?
I believe so.
I mean, because, typically, at home, it's a flame, it's a
The
candle.
menorah was up last year.
Yes.
Yeah, it was out.
Did
Lights
you
on
really
the
get
tree weren't
complaints
up.
that you weren't lighting it correctly?
You'd be surprised what we get complaints on.
Oh, no, I remember a few.
We got lights on the tree because the tree lights went this way and then didn't wrap around the tree.
Oh, yeah, I remember that
Well,
complaint.
I think, that's par for the course, you're gonna get complaints, but the 80%, again, 80/20.
No, but the menorahs are, it's,
80% of the people are gonna really enjoy it and be happy
Yeah,
about
it
it.
should be up.
And they're never gonna call you and say thank you, so I'll just say it now, thank you.
I think that the menorah goes up as a holiday decoration. It's part of our holiday festival with the
The other
the
thing we
lights
were
on the
thinking
tree
about
rather
doing,
than,
what the other thing?
rather than a religious expression.
Well, no, what the other thing we were thinking about doing is you could put the menorah up and not turn any of the lights on, just have it there as a decoration.
Well, I think it's the 12th it starts, so it'd be really nice if you could actually light them each night, and I'd be happy to help in
Okay.
that regard with respect to that. And I would also be happy to call Rabbi Shapiro. Because I do think if you just light the whole thing, or if you just leave it dark, that's probably not gonna be good.
No, it should be done the right way.
And I'd be happy to help
Just
any
go out
way I
there and
can,
turn a pole.
just to make it less stressful.
I have a fire truck menorah. Yeah, my wife got
It's
it.
that easy.
Huh? It's not easy.
No, it's
Just
that
turn the
easy.
pole.
Wait.
Kind of well, what do you have to do? You
You're
have to
not
apply it?
calling me. I'm gonna call you.
Turn the radio.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Let's move on.
I'm gonna go home.
Activity report. Do we have an activity report from
No, we don't.
from the
No.
assistant chief? Okay, we need that.
Joe was busy.
Fire marshal's report.
As you know, October's Fire Prevention Month. We've seen 675 children in 14 different spots. I would like to thank Nate Case, Jerry Case, Anthony Baradesca, Jeff Layden, and the chief for making making everything work this last month.
Nice.
I was out 116 times, 7 plan reviews, 7 consultations, 1 investigation. I had to meet the JCC insurance company investigator up there one day. And then 88 inspections for 2 months.
So, I see the temporary, it's temporary offices. at
That's what they
GCC.
call for 1764 Litchfield is their temporary office. They should be out of there this month. I'm at the JCC every day as they're working there.
So it's all operations back to.
No,
No, they won't be open
it won't be open for a while. Complete.
probably January or February.
Doing sprinkler work now for the lower level, where the Federation level. They're trying to turn that over now. And then they're working on the 2 offices upstairs. The one by the, as you walk in the front door, they're on the left and they're on the right. They're trying to get into those to get out of Litchfield Turnpike. And then they're gonna work on the next area, and they're starting to work on it now, is the workout area.
So you had a special event inspection here?
Fireworks for Halloween.
Got very, very good.
Did you wear your
reviews.
earplugs?
You know, I didn't have earplugs on. I had a hard hat on.
I did.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for the fire marshal? Hearing none, thank you. I have nothing to add other than my earlier comments. We have executive session, let's defer that until we take care of the next couple of items. Correspondence, we don't have any. Next meeting date is December 18th. And how does that work for everyone?
Good for me. Then what, last
That
week?
works for me.
Here you go.
I had a nice vacation. So big though. That was it.
Yeah.
Sean, are you gonna be out delivering toys that night?
No, like that Tuesday and Wednesday.
So we can meet on the 18th?
I should
If we want.
Can we knock out the operating budget by then?
Possibly.
Okay. So we will plan on our regular meeting date of the 18th. This is a list of
First Monday or Tuesday
proposed
in
meeting
January.
dates, which we're supposed to post every year in January, but I'd like to thank Amy for being proactive and bringing it to us now, in case we don't meet in December, which sometimes happens. So,
Because there's a holiday.
issues, as we see, January,
Martin Luther King
our regular meeting date is the 15th, which is Martin Luther King Day, so we can't have a regular meeting on that date because it's a public holiday, so we either need to do it the next night, which is a Tuesday, or the following Monday, which is fine with me, the 22nd. Same issue in February. The 5th will be too soon. I would pick the 26th if everyone agrees to that.
That's fine.
Do we know when Passover is this year?
What did you say about January? What date did you go to?
22nd.
Passover begins the evening of Friday, March 30th and ends Saturday, April 7th, according to Google.
Okay. All right, so we're clear on, so the 19th is good. April 16th is a school vacation week.
Yes, I will not.
Some of us, doesn't matter, some of us it might. What's your pleasure? Should we meet on the 16th, or
I won't be here on the 16th.
you want to push that off to the 23rd?
I'll be here.
I'll be here. I think I'll be here too, so.
Bruce might not be here. So. I prefer the 23rd. I definitely will not be here on the 16th.
Bruce's kids may be on a different vacation schedule.
We can always change it.
I say let's leave it on the 16th, and then we'll get that when Bruce is here. So that if he's available, we'll meet without you. If both of you are absent, then there's three of us, and we'll try to meet. What about, do we know about Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur for our September meeting?
April 16th.
April 16th.
I don't know what holiday, what Jewish holidays fall on this year. I don't even know.
2018 Rosh Hashanah is Sunday, September 9th, ends Tuesday, September 11th. Yom Kippur, Tuesday, September 18th, ends the evening of Wednesday, September 19th.
So if Yom Kippur starts on the 18th, is Monday the 17th okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Is it starts sundown the 18th?
Okay.
It should be fine.
Begins the evening of Tuesday, September 18th.
Yep, it's fine.
Okay. And we'll keep the Monday of Thanksgiving week and the Monday the 17th. Okay, I have a motion to approve the proposed regular meeting schedule.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Kravitz and Sufrin, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's approved. Okay. Next, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session. Is this on security, Sean?
Yes.
Okay. For security matters, with, do we need the fire marshal?
Sure.
Okay, with the fire marshal, the chief, and our clerk present. Okay, so I need a motion to that effect,
So moved.
and a second. All in favor?